Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Keyboards with the one and only
There's
Jeff
a guitar up there.
There you go. When I started this show 800 episodes ago, like shortly in, I started hearing about this incredible keyboard player, Jeff Babko. It's taken 3 years and 800 interviews for us to connect. And I'm so glad we did, because he's a great guy in addition to being a first-class musician. And he's got some good stories, and I'm really happy Jeff's with us today. I want to thank Victor and Drizzo for connecting us. The lovely, awesome Victor and Drizzo. Thank you. Also, make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com/subscribe to subscribe to the show. If you're already watching, Barbara Walters. If you're already watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and that little emoji that looks like a bell. That gets us ranked high on YouTube. And thanks for your support. Yeah, he's got it. That was good, man. Let me tell you about Jeff. Jeff's a first call LA session keyboardist. He's played or toured with Enrique Iglesias, Simon Phillips, who was on here, Robben Ford we had on here, Larry Carlton, and Jeff actually played on the Robben Ford and Larry Carlton live in Tokyo. He's also played with B's guitar superstar Tak Matsumoto, Shelby Lynne. Shelby Lynne, did you play with Val?
Yes, I did. Val got me on the gig.
And John Jackson was there right before that, probably.
This was Val. Val was MD.
Yeah.
He got me on the gig. This was like 2000, 2001, and we had a blast.
Yeah, he's a funny guy.
Val was in charge.
That's awesome, man. And Jeff also toured Europe with Toto in 2000. He started TV work playing in Martin Short's syndicated talk show in 99, and he's been the MD for Martin since 2002. For the last 15 plus years, Jeff's been the musical arranger, composer, and a house band member on Jimmy Kimmel Live, backing up obviously countless rock, pop, and jazz artists on the show. And he produces much of the music, especially for its comedy segments. And he co-wrote I'm Fucking Ben Affleck, which is a pretty big thing. Jeff also performs with Martin Short and Steve Martin, often joined by the Grammy Award-winning bluegrass group Steep Canyon Rangers. He's recorded and toured for Sheryl Crow in the 100 Miles from Memphis, great record. He also toured or recorded with James Taylor, Jason Mraz, Frank Ocean, Nathan East, Smokey Robinson, Alanis Morissette, Willie Nelson, Tim McGraw, John Mayer, Lyle Workman, whose new record is awesome, and others. He's played on a bunch of top successful film scores, including The 40-Year-Old Version, Superbad, Toy Story 4, Frozen 2, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and Jack Reacher 2. He's got 5 solo albums out under his own name. He's also a member of the band of Other Brothers with Will Lee, Jeff Coffin, really great guitarist Nir Felder from New York City, who we had on the show here, and Steely Dan's Keith Carlock. The band headlined the Iridium in New York City, and they have a new record ready for release, which probably come out in the fall, you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about that today. Jeff also stays very busy running and recording in his studio, which is called Tones, where he records and collaborates with his wife, who's an in-demand studio violinist named Songa Lee. Did I get her first name right? I'm sorry.
You did. Very good.
His current project is Ebunctions. We'll talk about that for sure. It's a really cool funk band. It's a band he co-leads with drummer Steve Ferroni. They have a new album about to drop, and he also has a very cool group, BIL, which I talked about with David Levita and Victor and Drizzo. Both those guys run it. It's a really cool album, you guys. It's like a lot of fun, I bet. No?
It's really unique. It only works because we love each other, the three of us, and it's just this. It was an experiment that gone right.
Yeah, but it is gone. You do a lot of trippy stuff.
So does Dave. So does Vic.
Yeah, very true. But like, I mean, we'll talk about this Crow Nuts. That was really awesome, man. That was very trippy, man.
Thanks.
Man, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm so glad we got to hang.
Thanks for having me.
You're
Shout
welcome.
out to Florida and to you.
Thank you, man. All right. So you grew up in Southern California, but you went to school at a great jazz program, University of Miami. What prompted you to go like cross country like that?
Speaking of Florida, right? I had the amazing fortune as a kid. I was taking classical lessons, which I tolerated. I never wanted. I'm of course, like everybody says now, I'm so thankful for the discipline and for the skills. But I really didn't enjoy playing classical piano. I enjoyed, even as a 5, 6, 7-year-old, learning songs from the radio and figuring out my own stuff and writing little songs and making up my own, I wouldn't even say improvising when you're 8, are you? But I guess I was.
Improvising. Yeah, it was.
Right. So my teacher was really incredible, and she sent me along to she said, you know what, she would just she was a classical person, right? So Tessie Chiako was her name, and she's just great, and she was really spirited, but she just didn't understand that stuff. She understood Rachmaninoff and Bartok, and so she said, you know, there's a guy in town that just moved here. I grew up just north of, I'm pointing north, just north of here in
I know that.
Valencia, California, which is now Santa Clarita, California. But Cal Arts is an amazing school atop this hill, which was in my neighborhood. And she said, there's this guy that just took over the jazz piano program at Cal Arts that you should meet, David Reutersteen. So she had befriended Dave and his wife, Rosie, who is a flute teacher. And she said, take from David. David was a young guy. He had just moved from Miami. So I studied with Dave from when I was 10 till when I graduated high school. And we went through, he was just amazing. I can't say enough about Dave. Anybody that's watching this that has an opportunity to study with Dave Reutersteen or go to Cal Arts, highly recommend it. This guy is just born to be a teacher. He just sees your strengths and weaknesses, and he doesn't, he just lifts you up and along the journey and finds where you're at and kind of guides you and maybe takes you by the hand and maybe someplace you didn't know you were ready to go. Just an incredible teacher, which is why I kind of don't teach as of yet, because I had the greatest teachers. I just realized what it took for them to see where I was at and the patience. And so he had gone to Miami. He had studied with an amazing piano teacher and player, Vince Maggio. Shout out to Vince. And he said, you know, when I was getting 16, 17, he said, I was looking at schools, you know, North Texas, I think Indiana I was looking at, Eastman I was looking at. My parents didn't want me to go to only a conservatory because my folks were both teachers. My dad was even in high school, they didn't want me to go to an arts high school. They said, we want you to be with normal people. Meaning
academics, if you're a teacher, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And also, even though my dad was a music teacher and my grandfather, my mom's dad was a music teacher, we have music in the family, but my dad especially really wanted me to have other type of background just in case, right? Sure. He's very pragmatic. So he wanted me to have some other academics at whatever. If we're going to pay for your college, you're not just going to take, you know, jazz 101.
This is so funny.
So I went through David's kind of coaxing, or not just encouragement. He thought Vince will be a great teacher for you. And I really didn't want to leave LA. I had applied to USC here in LA, and it was expensive. And frankly, you know, we didn't have that kind of money. We depended on financial aid.
Yeah.
We depended on scholarships. So my folks were always kind of saying, your grades are your job. I had summer jobs, but they said, keep your grades up so you have a chance at a scholarship, because we want you to go to college and we can't afford college if you don't get help. So the short version of that is I ended up at Miami kind of begrudgingly. I didn't want to go that far. My dad had gone to Miami to visit. He sent me pictures of the school. I thought it looked rickety. I thought it looked frightening. As soon as I got off the plane in Miami, I didn't connect with Florida. I didn't connect with, I belonged in Southern California and I wanted to stay, and I loved the music scene here. I was going I felt like against my will, but although I chose the school.
And you got a scholarship.
What's that?
You got a scholarship there.
I did. Yeah. Thank you. I wrote an essay. I don't remember what the essay was, but it was about the television show Chips was my subject. And that shows you how full of crap I am. But it was kind of a comedic essay. Somehow it got me. And also I chose Miami. Also, no math requirements. So I went.
Oh, you didn't like me. You weren't a math guy.
I think that was part of
that's so funny.
A very big part of why Vince and no math I was in.
That's cool.
But I grew to fall in love with the school. I met some of my longest lasting friends at school there. I talking with them last night. I got my first gigs because of going to that school. I still get gigs and still have professional relationships because of the camaraderie and that community of the UM guys. Andrew Sinowick, an amazing guitar player who, he went far after I did. He's much younger, but there is a community. There is a club of, and it's not exclusive. It's not like we're elitist, but if you find out someone went to Miami, there's a connection. And
Totally.
so that's a really cool byproduct. And the other great thing, besides studying with Vince, who I've been in touch with recently a lot, who's just an incredible solo pianist, great for touch, which has really helped me. Great for feel. He has a swing class, which, you know, might be a dated concept as far as swinging. Like, he was always about Wynton Kelly, swing like Wynton Kelly. But what I've told him is it really applies to the studios as far as listening to where the drummer's time is, where the click is, where you fit into the groove. Every band feels different. So being attuned to that, it doesn't really matter what style you're playing. You have to have that antenna up. So
yeah,
I'm so glad I went to that school. I got work when I was down there right away. I got my first gig at the Coconut Grove Playhouse in my first semester of playing for Anthony Newley in the pit. And I got the Julio Iglesias gig right out of college because I had been playing with those guys. So
you know what? You told me Julio and I still didn't change it. Sorry.
Oh, it's fine. I sound
so
way
sorry.
hipper for having played with Enrique. I've met Enrique, and I said I worked with your dad, and he said, "How was it?" I said, "Oh, it was fine. It was fine." He's okay. But yeah. Anyway, it was an amazing experience. I wouldn't trade it for the world. But when I graduated, I had a band at the time called Treehouse with this guy Carl Roa, who's a great guitar player. And we came back to LA. We had a record. We had done a record in Miami. We came back to conquer LA, and that lasted barely through the summer, first summer out of school. And then we dispersed. Three of them went back to Miami. Dan Pinder, the bass player, and I stayed here. Dan's now an incredible film music editor here, and still a great bass player and musician. And his father, Mike Pinder from the Moody Blues. Yeah, so I ended up here where I kind of belonged, I think, all along. I'm still friends. My dear friend, Dan Warner, who's no longer with us. Dan really was my big brother at the University of Miami. I'm going to get emotional. He was the security guard in my dorm. So I knew Dan. We were in an ensemble together at school called Thursday Night Rhythm Section. It's a great class. The writers, the music writers would bring in a piece of music. We were the rhythm section that were like kind of the session guys, even though I was 18, to play down the music, and the engineering department would record it. It was what a great idea. Every department gets, and it really was kind of like real life, like what I do now, you know, as student version. And Dan was the guitar player in that first ensemble, and we clicked. He played Dan, if those of you listeners that don't know, you need to know about Dan. He was the leading guitar player in South Florida, co-MD of the Latin Grammys, producer, legend. And we lost him about 2 years ago, and suddenly, and he made a dent in the music scene that will never be felt. The guy could play anything. And really helped me along. He believed in me. You know, he was only a year and a half or 2 years older than me, but he saw in me, you know, and also he played like an LA guy. So I couldn't, like, there was a lot of jazzers at school. Yes. So to hear that, I was like, oh, I know that sound. And I could tell he was listening to like Mike Landau and Lukather and the guys that Tim Pierce, all the guys that I kind of knew from here. So we bonded quickly, and he helped me get a lot of my first gigs down there. I was doing jazz gigs with the singer 3 nights a week, and then 1 night a week was working with a kind of R&B band playing all like George Benson and Al Jarreau stuff, and they were the band, and that became Julio's band. And I got my first tour August of when I graduated and was living here, and off to the races.
That's so cool, and I'm sorry for your loss, man.
Oh man, I'm sorry for the world's loss. That really, Dan. Anybody, if you hear talk about Dan Warner, everybody just loved the guy. We were on, you know, not only kind of brothers in school, but on the Julio tour as well. Like really brother, like we knew how to push each other's buttons. We would be wrestling on the bus and fighting over NBA jams, video games, and I'd be pouting, and I'd try to get him back. You know, we really did love one another, and all through, I would see him whenever he'd come to town to do stuff for the Grammys, or if I went down there, he'd come to the gig. And he was a big James Taylor fan, so he'd come to those gigs. So not just me, the community really lost a hero. And please listen, anything you guys have a chance, especially your guitar players, listen to Dan Warner. He was genius, really was.
And thanks, man. I will definitely check him out myself. You know, it's interesting. I mentioned to you, John DeFaria, they had a band and they wound up becoming Gloria Estefan's band. So that's a really, and like you did the same thing with Julio.
One of those guys was Mike Scaglione, the sax player from Miami Sound Machine, was with us with Julio. So that's how I knew a lot of the Tim Mitchell and a lot of those guys through.
Yeah.
Like, again, if you went to Miami, you suddenly had the Rolodex, old term, but for all the guys that had ever gone there. So you could meet somebody that graduated in 75 and you're in that family.
Yeah.
Just because, did you study? There's one guy that you both know probably. Although now I have almost no connective tissue with people that are there now. That everything's kind of changed. So we have the name University of Miami, but almost none of the teachers or staff are the same. So it's a little sad, but it's the time for the changing of the guard and for a new University of Miami. So I think it's and my buddy John Diversa, who is the head of jazz down there, we know each other from here since high school. So I know it's in great hands.
Yeah, I've heard his name tons of times.
Yeah, an incredible educator and musician and guy.
Thanks, man. That was really cool. You toured with Julio, as you said. That was a pretty serious to get that as your first gig right out of school. That's a pretty serious tour. What lessons did you learn from that stayed with you? It could be things that you learned to do or not to do even.
I learned a lot on that tour. I've traveling the world, because he was, at that point, and I don't know if it's still true, but no one had sold more records worldwide. Like he had if you went to Southeast Asia, he had a huge following. If you went to Brazil, he had a huge following. Wherever you went, he had a following, which, that most artists have a following only in England or only, and maybe a little bit nuts, but you go anywhere and he was an icon. So I got to travel the world and I'm so glad I got to see the world with my friends from college.
Yeah.
So it was like, I always think of it as like the sequel to it's like Porky's 2: The Revenge. Ours was like University of Miami 2, like or like Beverly Hills 90210 when they graduate. It's like, it was us, like now they're going to travel the world. That was us. Like we were these idiots, good players, but also, hey, you guys want to take the castle tour today where we went to see the reclining Buddha or whatever it was. Now it's these college buddies hanging out in wherever, in Seoul or in, Toronto or in Brazil or wherever it was. So I tried to see the world with my eyes open, thinking I may never do this again. I'm really glad I got to do that. I remember first, the tour was, I don't want to talk crap about the tour because it was an amazing experience, but it was run like you'd see the holes in how it was run, right? And when you're only 22, you don't have a lot of experience. I didn't have any other thing but I would hear the guys that had been on other tours start complaining about it, like, the office doesn't do. I was like, and you'd also hear the crew guys that were always bitching about something. You go, okay, so-and-so always bitches. So you'd get into it. Like if you're on a team like that, you'd start to take on this is, and you go, wait a second, like, is that the truth or is that his version of the truth? Because so you'd start to learn about personalities and you'd start to learn. I learned that being positive was better for me. But I remember one time landing in Denver. I didn't have, it's before cell phones were really, this was probably 96. Not everyone had I didn't have a cell phone yet. I didn't even have a pager. And I landed and I didn't have a greeter there, a car. I didn't know where my hotel was. I didn't know where the gig was. They hadn't sent the information. I was just in baggage claim. And I thought, okay, this is not great. Like, somebody should have told me. I should have had in the
where to go. I mean,
I think they had just changed tour managers and nobody had. Everyone really was based in Miami. Couple crew guys from Canada, maybe one or two from LA. But because I was the outlier, they'd kind of forgotten about me. Wow. And they had all the South Florida guys in a van go to the thing, and it was just kind of janky run, at that point. So I learned, I was at that point 24 or something, 23. I went, I learned early, and I'm only realizing this now at 48, how to assert but not be an asshole. There's a difference between being assertive and being aggressive. I didn't really get that then. So, but I did learn to assert. I told the tour manager, who was a friend of mine, and he was actually the guitar player from before that had been promoted to tour manager. Not necessarily equipped to do either thing, by the way, but he's a lovely guy. And I said, man, like I got to the airport and I was pissed off, you know. I was like,
where are you supposed to go?
And I have nowhere to. I want to go to work. I'm here to work, but you don't tell me where to go, man. Like I had to, I think, look it up in a newspaper or something. Like, oh no, the guy Lee Levin, the drummer. God, shout out to Lee. God, another Floridian. I said, Lee, he had a service where if you star something on the phone, it would tell him where you were and have him call you back. It was some weird AT&T thing. And I did that. I was like, well, Lee's got that thing. I went to a payphone. They were having lunch. And I said, dude, where the hell do I go? Like, where are you guys? Oh, we're at the so-and-so. Did they not tell you? No, no one told me anything.
Wow.
So I learned, you know, I stuck up for myself. And I really remember kind of stepping into it. I said, hey, this happens with me, as you can tell. I get into a subject and then I get fired. I fire myself up about it. And, I was, as I was talking to him, I think the crew started gathering around and the band. And I was saying, hey, listen, when you got to give me the information. I'm here to work, but you got to give me the information. I can't work if you don't tell me. And another thing, why did you pick the hotel, the only hotel in town that has doing construction on every room and is an hour from the gig? Was it the proximity to the gig or was it the construction that allured you? And I remember just getting the slow clap from the crew as I finished. I was like, oh, I did not know I was performing, but I realized you have to stick up for yourself. And I think I had earned enough points not being a jerk the whole time. So if you're the guy that always complains, you're the guy that always complains.
Right.
But if you're the guy that kind of goes along with it, and then when there's a problem, you step into it, you've earned a lot more space to
credibility. You get listened to, you know, if you're not. What are you an only child?
Yes.
Interesting.
Oh boy, why do you ask?
Well, I was curious because like usually I think sticking up for yourself has to do with pecking order sometimes. I mean, not always, you know, there's no template for always with behavior, but I would think it has to do with pecking order. So I just said, I just thought you were an only child because it was, I think when you're an only child, there's no sense of, you know, he got this and it's like, you have no frame of reference.
It's a great point.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of my life making sure I wasn't the spoiled only child. We didn't have like a lot of extra money. So it wasn't like I could get, you know, showered upon with stuff, but
sure.
I also, you know, and my folks were really cool about having friends around, always like having friends in and making sure I was interacting and sharing my toys and all those things. So I was pretty aware of that from a young age, but those things, you're absolutely right. I didn't have experience with those skills. The good thing about it is guys like Dan Warner, who we talked about, they were very assertive.
Right.
I saw Dan talk to Julio, to the boss, in ways I can't imagine. He was very kind of like a bulldog. He was an amazing guy, and God bless him because he stuck up for the whole band.
Sure.
But it was hilarious. Now, I still could never be like that. It's not my personality.
Sure.
But to assert myself in the right way, I'm really just learning where I feel comfortable with that now.
Well, I think there's a self-care component that none of us get till we're older, because it's like I know myself, I used to be probably over the top. And then I realized, wait a minute, I don't need to, I'm stressed out. I don't, you know, it's like, I need to not do this for me. Plus I'm being a dick to that guy.
Right.
And I'm now like your approach, I'm like totally calm. And then when you speak, it's like, oh, okay, this guy goes with the flow. He doesn't bitch a lot. So if he's saying something, it's gotta be, you know, and if you talk calmly and rationally and, you know, like you do.
I'm at my worst at an airport, by the way. There's nothing calm or rational about me in an airport. I'm still working on it. I'm really thankful to have had a year and a half away from airports so that Jeff doesn't show up as often.
Every musician I talk to says, you know what, man, I miss working, but I don't miss fucking fly. This is like,
especially if you had to deal with LAX all the time.
I can't imagine.
No.
Where did you get your work ethic? Because that was really strong at a young age too.
My folks worked hard, and I'm too I love music too much. You know, as I mentioned earlier, my father especially really wanted me to, you know, he convinced me in college, one of my summers, to get a summer job in some wing of music that wasn't playing, just in case again. So I ended up working.
That's a smart, that's a decision that you as a kid could accept. It's not like he said, hey man, my buddy's an accountant and they have, because that's like, but that's really smart guidance that your dad, was very smart.
He's a smart guy. And I realized, you know, I wore a suit I went to the Sony A&R department. I wrote a cover letter, and I wore my suit there, and went to my interview for a summer internship at the Sony A&R department, which was amazing. And during my interview, this guy walks in. This is 91 or 2, full black, jet black, aqua netted, you know, 2 bottles a day, aqua net hair, tattered shirt, jeans. I think he had the earring going to the nose. He's an employee, and he goes, dude, Babko, what the hell? I was like, I'd been found. I remember I had a maroon knit tie and a bad gray suit. And it was the guy from my local record store, Benji, like who had interned at Geffen Records, and now had it because he loved Guns N' Roses early on. He had gotten an A&R job because he was the local Sunset Strip guy at
God.
I was like, oh geez. So I stopped wearing a suit but I did get the job.
That's cool.
Yeah, but the work ethic came from, if I'm going to be in music, I consider every day that I get to be a musician professionally a gift and an honor. So I don't think about it as I'm doing it, but I think, gosh, like I got to do a good job. Like there's no option of sucking at it. Like I cannot be your guy, or you can have something else in mind. But someone else or another voice, and we all have different voices, you know. If you've got a lot of pride or ego, then this business and this town is going to be tough for you, because there's a lot of people that do a version of what you do. So a producer or an artist or composer might have a different idea of keyboards, but you know, or even a personality. There's plenty of guys, and there's plenty of versions of what I do. And the community is amazing. I mean, there are very few people that I can think of that I dislike or disrespect. I mean, to be able to be in this town and in this business and work, it's like you got to bring it. Which is why, you know, we talked before we were on the air about all the keyboards. I realized, you know, if a producer wants a weird organ or this synth, I want to have it. I want to be able to bring it. I remember, you know, when I was young and on the Julio tour, I met Simon Phillips, and he asked if I had a so-and-so and a so-and-so. Now at the time I didn't have all the things, but I said I had all the things, and I found a way to get the things that he wanted. Just you know, you say, yeah. And then I got a day to figure this out, you know, whether it's a credit card and buy some stuff, whether it's call my buddy Dave, who loaned me his 1-rack synth space, and I broke the rack ears. Shout out Dave. I'm sorry. Your Alesis S4 was well used. You know, you figured my Rhodes I had one Fender Rhodes. No one was really using Fender Rhodes in the early 90s. I've loved the Fender. It's probably my favorite instrument. I had one at my buddy Angelo's house. He had a little studio, and that Rhodes, it's at Angelo. And then I'd use that. That's at Angelo's house. I didn't have one, but you have a mini Moog, but you know, or a new Korg, you'd buy it and you'd hopefully pay it off with the work that you got from having it. So it was just kind of realizing that to get called was an honor, to get called in this town full of musicians. And I got to like for the Simon Phillips audition, I guess, or getting together with him and Jimmy Earl to play trio stuff to see if I would work out for this tour. I was on a video shoot for Julio Iglesias, and I was looking at the Simon music, listening to the CD because I loved Simon as a musician. I was excited. So I wanted to internalize this music. So, because I had one shot at making it to the, you know, I was in the minor leagues. Now I wanted to graduate to the majors. got one shot to look like I know what I'm doing, because I blow this opportunity where I'm okay, or he was all right. He'll be fine. I didn't want to be fine. I wanted to be great, so.
Well, and he in particular, as I had him on here, not only is his memory, like, I don't know how he remembers all this stuff, but he is so well versed in every piece of equipment, non-drummer. I mean, he knows how to make music. He knows exactly what he wants. He's really specific. So that's,
yes, he is.
Yeah, but just to pat a feather on your cap, I was so excited about having you on the show. And I mentioned to several people, Lyle, just a couple other people, everybody said, man, not only is he such a talented guy, he's one of the nicest guys. And everybody said you're super funny too, which I was excited about. But, and every time I talked to you, that sense of humility came, because you can tell where someone's head is at. I mean, we're not curing cancer on this show. This isn't 60 minutes, but you're very gracious to me. And I really appreciate that. And that, that speaks to somebody who's not, head up in the sky, like a very normal person. So,
well, thank you. And I think about curing cancer, I think, geez, we're doing our part in at least making somebody with cancers, because music can reach folks that are ill and can, again, back to just having the honor of getting to make music. Yeah. It's as I joked to you before, it's all I really know how to do. So if I'm going to do it, what a great service position to bring joy, or to bring, if one person hears, I used to think I made solo records, and I'd go, why do I make solo records again? I can't figure it. It's not, they're mostly in my attic, the copies. But then one guy, like a younger keyboard player, we went to coffee. I don't teach. You asked earlier if I teach. I don't really teach, but I will go if I love coffee. Shout out to Doyle Bramhall for saying I love coffee, because he loves when I say that. But I let's go to coffee and you can pick my brain. I'm down for that. Like, please pick it for an hour. So I remember this younger keyboard player asked me specific questions about sounds on a solo record. It might have even been the Crow Nuts record. I went, how cool. So people are listening. So I'm making it for the one guy that listened, and that's cool. Like, really, that's enough. That's more than enough. It's so cool. You just never know who's listening to music and who's getting joy and who's getting excited, inspired. That's awesome. Like, that's awesome.
I'll talk about that Crow Nuts record later, but that is such a great record, man.
Thank you.
And your stuff on there is so. I walk a lot, as I was telling you, and I listened to it like for 2 or 3 days straight. I was walking. It was so
cool.
It's real. Like, I think I said in the notes somewhere, it's like Dark Side of the Moon in many ways. It's really trippy. There's a lot going on. It's easy to get sucked in and lost into it. And it's just a good vibe, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, really. And I didn't know what to expect,
Neither did we.
well, it worked. So thanks for sharing all that, man. That's really cool. Let's talk. Did you know you were going to be a sideman from early on? It sounds like you kind of did.
It's a great question. No, I remember, going to department stores where they'd have those 3 mirrors for trying on a suit or something, like the center mirror and the 2 side.
We got Rolodex, beeper, and the 3 mirrors.
Right? You remember those? Like that kind of, and I remember thinking I was kind of like Hall or Oates, like kind of feeling like while my dad was trying on a suit. So I think I had kind of maybe that, but I knew I don't sing that great. You can hear my voice. Who wants to listen to that? I think that, I've said this a lot, but when Toto 4 came out in '82, I got it on cassette, as you did at that point, and I wore it out. I mean, David Page's playing on that and parts, it's just the Rosanna outro alone, made me realize, even at age 10, which is how old I was when that came out, learning the licks from Page's outro solo on Rosanna, you go, okay, wait a second. Page's dad was Marty Page, one of the great arrangers of all time. Page is playing synth bass on Turn Your Love Around. Page, he and Lukather go to the Baked Potato and mess around at night. You know, I'm putting all this together at 10 and 11. It seems like being a sideman is pretty rad. Like maybe.
Okay.
So I remember thinking how cool, like they're buds. They hang out in a band. They have a band. They make records. They play on other people's records. They go mess around and play their own gigs at night. This sounds cool. Like, and most folks, and they were on Thriller, which wasn't like my favorite record, but it was a huge record at the time. And you go, okay, this seems cool. Like you can be almost anonymous to a point, but be making the most important and influential music of the time and affect other people's records and put your stamp on it, but also be kind of transparent. It just seemed like a kind of magical little slot, and it seemed like one that I could aspire to. So maybe living close to Los Angeles, you know, I was only like a half hour away. It seemed like I could reach that. Like I could almost touch that close enough. We had a union, musicians union directory. So I remember I would leaf through the musicians union directory and say, look, they just live in North Hollywood. They're a normal person. You don't have to go through their manager. They just live in North Hollywood. I remember some of it was like, you know, Charles and so-and-so, Wilshire Boulevard. It's like, oh, they got a manager. That's no fun. But this guy lives in North Hollywood, you know? So I could see there were real people making a living playing on Thriller. It's like, so I think I saw it as an avenue that was exciting to me, and maybe also I could aspire to. So I recognized the option. Whereas maybe if I'd grown up in Lincoln, Nebraska, it wouldn't have it would have seemed like outlandish that I could do. I didn't have to move to Los Angeles to see if I could. I was close enough.
Yeah.
And I could see those guys at the Baked Potato. I could see them I remember there's a keyboard show here in Universal City at the Howard Johnson's, and I had my dad drive me down there. And there was David Page and Steve Porcaro wandering around looking at the new Yamaha synths. Like, there they are. I mean, they're right there. They're just guys wandering around at a hotel. So, yeah.
And you felt that was very tangible.
It
like
felt
seeing these guys
tangible,
made it very real to you. Yeah. Hey, let me ask you a question. What kind of speakers you speak? I'm always so happy to see someone else besides me having
I noticed it was in the shot. Where is it?
On your left.
That one.
Yeah.
That's an old Advent speaker that I was so excited to find about a year ago on Craigslist. I have record players throughout the house. The record player in here isn't great. The system isn't great. And the speaker, the amp was too powerful for the speakers. Okay. So I knew I had to get bigger speakers. So those were on Craigslist, and he charged me half of what the Craigslist posting said. I think because he made a mistake. Maybe he'd done a drug or two before he sold them to me. They're giant. And Victor was very excited when I got these speakers. I took a picture of them in my car, and they're pretty good.
Yeah, man. It's so funny because my kids are older. My sons are older. They're almost 31 and 29, and they'll come in here and they're like, why do you still have these speakers? And I'm like, man, you don't get it. When you grow up listening to this, you don't go to earbuds only. It's just, I mean, I've got, we
have a little place in the Central Coast, and I've got these little Bose from the 80s that about this big. And that system sounds great. It's not the size that matter, but they're a great system. I love when you get a system put together and it's like, oh yeah, there it is. That's good for me. I'm not an audiophile, but I am.
But you want good sound.
I want to hear the music like I expect to hear it. You know, I grew up listening on a little, I think, Sanyo one banger, you know, with the one cassette and the record player attached and the radio. So, hey, if we can beat that, it's a good day.
I know, man. I feel the same way. All right. I'm going to ask you about some of the artists you've worked with. And if you could tell me, Jeff, how you got the gig and maybe a cool or funny story or interesting story about working with them. You mentioned Simon already. Tak Matsumoto from Bees.
Sure. Hi. Hello, Japan, folks.
Actually, we're pretty.
We
have a ranking. We're ranked pretty well in Japan. So somebody there will be listening to you. There you go.
Yeah, Tak is awesome. I met Tak through Larry Carlton when we did the duo record.
With him and Robben.
No, this was Tak and Larry.
Tak and Larry. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And we recorded at Tak's Amazing, which is no longer his. He sold it, but in Beverly Hills, he had a studio which was great, and his engineer is amazing. And we did that record. That was 2009, I think. And we became friends. And then I would do Tak's records, his solo records. And then I ended up, they have a great team. Kyle Yoshida and the team at Vermilion over there for the Bees, they would just kind of bring me in now for the Bees record. So every year it would be either a solo project or a Bees record. Now for the last, since 2010, when we got this, I used to have a studio off site. When we built out this studio at home, now the Bees come over here about once every year, or Koji or Tak come over and we do the team comes over. They have a great copyist, YT, and he's a great guitar player too. And he brings over these it's like so not rock and roll the way they do it. It's so organized.
Like they have charts.
The charts are perfect.
Wow.
The tracks are perfect. The engineer is here. They come hang. The team usually hangs out back and does paperwork and answers phone calls, and maybe 2-3 days we work on a Bees record. And
that's cool.
Super fun.
Who did I have on here that played a lot with Bees? Drummer Shane Gallus, I think.
Sure. Yeah. Shane was on tour with them. Yeah.
He's a monster, awesome. Man. Yeah. He's a real
Shane
monster.
Logged a lot of hours with the Bees, more than he'd logged road hours. Yeah.
Yeah. That sound like I've heard so many great things about them, just as what you're saying, not only just as musicians and people, but I've heard that consistently. They're super organized and really
super organized and super kind and just great. And what's cool too? They're still excited about music. They're not just rock stars. They're just really kind-hearted, kind of feel like they're the same way. They getting to make music is a gift, and they're very gracious, and it's a really lovely experience.
Cool, man. How did you get the Kimmel gig? And I'm sure you got tons of funny stories from that.
I met, backing up, I was in a band called Cecilia Noel and the Wild Clams in the 90s. Now, Cecilia Noel, when I moved back from Miami, my buddy Mike Elizondo, who's a great producer and bass player, we had known each other since high school with John DeVersa and a couple other guys. Mike said, you got to come see this band, Cecilia Noel. Now, all I knew from Cecilia Noel is that at the Baked Potato, which is our local club here, they had a long-standing Monday residency. And I was so sick of seeing the name Cecilia Noel and the Wild Clams on the bar. It's like, why do they always take a night every? Why is it not Carl Verheyen or something cool like that I want to go see? It's always this Cecilia. And Mike said, listen, you got to come see Cecilia Noel. You're gonna be blown away. The horn section spills out into the bar, and it's crazy. And the band, it's always so and so and so. I said, all right, take me over there. So we went over on a Monday night, probably 94, and I was blown away. He was right. It was just this wall of excitement, and she was kind of R-rated, just making and the 3 backup singers, and she and Tris Imboden had been married, but Tris was they were in the middle of not being married. Right. So he was there sometimes playing, but often then she had a long-standing, this is a long answer, but it's good. She had a long-standing Thursday residency at the West End in Santa Monica. So I would go on, now I'm hooked. I go on Mondays to the Spud and see them. Thursdays I go down to the West End. And plus I was a single 22-year-old. There were like girls dancing. It was like, it's cooler at the West End because girls that like the big kid is usually fellas. Let's go where. So I'd go with my buddy Derek, and we'd go down to the West End, and Cecilia had a deal with Sony, so she was coming in later and later with like a mink coat on and a team. And man, that's hilarious. Like, boy, this 9 o'clock gig starts later and later every week, but I'd still go. And at that point, it was a cavalcade of the greatest drummers. So it would be Simon on one Thursday, then Sheila E. the next, then it's Weckel, then it's Greg Bissonette, then it's so it was like, dude, this is the greatest. I get to see every great drummer in town. Gosh, I saw so many great players, and I ended up, I was still with Julio, but Julio was great because it was like a week out, then I'd be 2 weeks home, then 4 days out, then so I was making money, but I was home.
One question about that. Were you spoiled as your first gig a little bit? Like you're not schlepping in a van with Julio. That True. Had to be a little bit like, although you've worked with such great people, I'm sure most of that has continued, but like, did you ever think, oh my God, if I get a regular gig and I got to drive to, Nebraska in a van. This is going to suck.
No, I was itching. I did that actually mid Julio tour because I left in '96, 2 years in, to do an upstart rock tour. This guy Savory, who was on Polydor, but it was like being 22 and playing music with Julio Iglesias. It was like, yeah, that's not my jam. Like, you were playing to a house full of 65-year-old women. Really, and it's like, it's kind of depressing, right? I was like full of piss and vinegar. Let's go. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, all right. So I was grateful for the gig, but it wasn't exciting me musically. So I really wanted to kind of rock or do like, so the Simon gig, to just be able to like throw down and cool. Like aggressive, like kind of like come out, be hungry.
He's
hungry.
A super aggressive player, man.
Yeah. And then the Savory tour was a great band, and it turned out not to work out that well. The management, I could read enough at that age to go, yeah, this isn't the ticket out. But it was a van and all that, and I don't know if I was spoiled because I was thankful for the gig and I loved hanging out with my friends, but the music was kind of a bummer. Yeah. So it's always the three things, and it's like, okay, well,
the music and the cash.
The music wasn't really, I was doing my best but I had the greatest drummer, Lee Levin. I had a speaker as my monitors before in-ears, and someone wisely, I had Rafa Padilla from Sound Machine on percussion and Lee, and their time is like a rock. So someone said, I think Dan Warner said, just have Lee's hi-hat and Rafa's shaker and work on your time. And I was like, man,
you got some great lessons about rhythm, man.
Is incredible. So I had a click track, man. Those guys didn't move. So I just used it as graduate school. Yeah. But the gig didn't excite me. It's not like the music was like getting in my bones.
Yeah, I could totally get that, man.
Yeah, so Cecilia, it was like, oh my God, this is exciting. Like, it was this force. And I was out with Julio, and I came back from Spain after one run, and I had a message from Cecilia. Oh, Babko, this is Cecilia. Please, do you want to maybe come to the Baked Potato and maybe sit in? And I called her back, and I was like, do you mean bring my gear, or am I sitting in because if I'm gonna bring my gear, and I knew enough. I was like, I'm gonna play the gig. Like, I don't want to come and sit in and bring
bring all your shit for one song.
That's doing a gig. like what am I doing? Like, so no, play the gig. And I knew the gig. It's like I don't probably even need the charts. I've come every week. And then I was in the band. From that point on, I was in the band.
That's so cool.
And then I don't even remember what question I'm answering. Kimmel. Kimmel. So there's a guy named Cleto Escobedo that was playing sax occasionally. It was either Albert Wing or him. And Cleto and I hung out with some of the background singers, and he was holding court, and he was really funny at Jerry's Famous Deli, which is now gone, after one of the Big Potato gigs. And he really made me laugh, and we became really close right after that. And then we got a cover gig here in the Valley at a place called Cafe Cordial, which is where, man, in the 90s and 2000s, Cafe Cordial, every night of the week, it was a great little restaurant, but every night of the week you could see the guys, like it was Kurt Bascara, or it was Val, or it was, it was like Stubenhouse, or like Household. It was no cover. You could go down Cordial and see all the guys. So we got a regular gig at Cordial once or twice a month.
So that was pretty good. Like, you must have felt pretty good about that. Like, hey, I'm sort of like getting in the circle.
I'm a cat
now. Yeah.
I'm a cat.
Yeah.
No, there's no question about it. And you'd be playing. I remember playing, it was a cover gig. It was a fun cover gig, and people would come and we'd drink too much. But I remember playing When the World Is Running Down, the Sting solo version. And Vinny Colaiuta walks in, and like, he is on the Sting gig. This is a little embarrassing, but you know what? I've had a couple vodka tonics. Let's go. So you would meet the guys and you hang, and then we became kind of a fun stop on, if you're on Ventura Boulevard, you'd stop in and see. We were called Mowgli. So Cleto grew up with Jimmy. They grew up across the street from one another. Oh. So I met Jimmy at Cleto's birthday in I guess 96 or 7. Cleto's birthday's in August, so I'm going to say it was 97. So I met Jimmy in 97. We went and picked him up at his house in West Hills or wherever it was. yeah, with his kids, and we grabbed Jimmy, and so I met Jimmy in '97. I'd see Jimmy occasionally through Cleto. He'd come to gigs. And then when I started the Martin Short show, he came on as a guest. He was then on the Man Show and maybe Win Ben Stein's Money. So I knew Jimmy personally through Cleto pretty well, you know, as a pal. And he was on K-Rock here on FM radio in the morning and Kevin and Bean show. So when he got his own deal, I was on the Wayne Brady show. The word was that summer of '02, Jimmy was going to get his own deal with ABC. So they said, okay, that looks good. Well, in that same time, I got a call to do the Wayne Brady show with a guy I'd worked with, Peter Michael Escovedo, Sheila's brother. Hey, we're doing this Wayne Brady show in August. This is '02. Do you want to do it? And Toshi Yanagi, my buddy, the guitar player, and I
had Toshi on here.
Yeah. We said yes.
Yeah.
And so we're doing the launch party at the Sky Bar, this very swanky bar on Sunset Boulevard rooftop. And we're doing kind of apologetically doing these covers with Wayne Brady. It was a little cheesy. And, you know, whatever, we're doing Mustang Sally or some bullshit. And Jimmy walks in with his manager and Adam Carolla, I think. They walk in and he's like, he's looking at me and he's looking at me.
Yeah.
He's like, what? Wait, I have a show coming. I'm like, and we talked about it. And I was like, man, this is on. Like, this show's on already. Your show's not on. Like, it's you said it was going to happen, but you don't have a show yet. I need work. I need work.
I got to pay the bills.
So he was cool. He gets it. So and I knew in my heart, like, well, as soon as you get a show and we get an offer, maybe we'll jump. But right now I got to work. And it did get pretty awkward. That December, when Jimmy's show was announced and they called us officially, Wayne's show didn't want to let us go. So it was probably the worst time of.
What do you mean they didn't let you go? You were under contractual obligation.
Yes. Now the funny
so you had
thing
signed
is,
a commitment for X amount of time and then your contract.
Yeah, but those contracts are always drawn up in TV, probably record deals too, to protect the employer.
So it's one-sided. So you had a reason to breathe.
I have no protections. They have all protections. So, you know, it's like, we are entitled to this and this. You got nothing. Like, you are thankful to have a job and here's what we're going to pay. Oh, okay.
You know what always blows my mind as a more like of a business guy coming in here, I am shocked at how consistent this has been through. And I've talked to guys that are like Mark Farner from Grand Funk, you know, so guys that are older, and then now you're 10 years younger than me, and it's hearing the same thing. What I don't understand is it's so easy to make things fair and everybody's like happy. And I never,
well, you know, they would have let me out, and they did let me out, obviously. But I was friends with Bernie Brillstein, who was the manager there, who was just a life force, and another guy that we lost. I am so glad it was a piece of old Hollywood that we were friends, because he's Marty Short's manager as well. Okay. And we were pals. We'd been on the road together. I'd see him at dinner. But he was Wayne's manager at the time, and he was the one that did not want to let me go. You know, I don't want to use the language he would have used, but it was colorful. Yeah. And so he got Wayne's camp and all of them kind of against me, like, yeah, how dare he leave because Jimmy wasn't his client. Wayne was his client. Marty was his client. And
so this is kind of like,
so I was being a
dick
in his mind. I was jumping ship. Thankfully, because Marty Short and I are very close, Marty called Bernie personally and said, listen, because I called Marty almost in tears on Christmas Eve. I remember a day calling Marty Short on his cell, and he was at Gelson's, a supermarket, looking for, you know, whatever he was looking for in the bakery aisle. And I said, man, and he talked to me, God bless Marty Short, he's the best. And explained, listen, Bernie, you know, Wayne's his client. He's protecting his client. Let me talk to him. I get what you're saying. You're right. Kimmel is late night, Wayne's morning. It's a better look for you to be in late night. And it's better. And Jimmy's great. And he's your friend. Let me talk to Bernie. He's just protecting his client. And that's his job. Right. And because I had covered myself as far as the band, I told our musical director, who is my boss, Peter, Toshi, this is where being Japanese is Toshi. Like he wouldn't communicate this, so I was having to be the one, the bad guy. Toshi could be kind of like, yeah, you know. But I said, I'll go to bat. So I told Peter and said, hey, we have an opportunity to do the Kimmel show. And Peter's reaction was amazing. He said, listen, I got 2 guys that want the gig. That's no problem. If you guys really want to do this, I got 2 guys lined up. Like everyone wants this. Everyone wants a job.
Yeah, sure.
And his reaction was, more guys are working. This is great. More guys.
So he was like, you're getting what you want. 2 other guys getting what they want. Win-win.
Everybody working. 2 more musicians that I know working. How great. And he knew Cleto too. So as far as I was concerned, we handled it responsibly. Like everybody's happy. Everyone, I had the awkward talk. He was psyched. I'm psyched. I'll let, you know, the new guy, whatever we can do to make this easy transition. But it got charged from emotions and from people. And then Bernie's office called me after Christmas break. I get a call from his assistant, Christina.
Well, hold on one second. Meanwhile, was there a clock ticking? Like, I'm sure you had like Jimmy said, hey, I need to know by.
Oh, it's not Jimmy. It's ABC at this point. It's ABC, but hilariously, both owned by the same company, both owned by Disney. So I've got the same music office from Disney threatening me and welcoming me. At one point, I had to tell the assistants, like,
God bless
that you just called you just called me 6 hours ago, threatening me, and you're welcoming. So
it was the same dude, actually.
Same lady. Yeah, it was awesome.
Oh my God.
It was just that funny gray area, and everyone's trying to protect their own interests, right? So I get it, and and I just wanted to make it easy for everybody. I'm just a keyboard player, so this doesn't need to be a big deal.
Could you imagine though, like she picks up the phone at this hand, and then she's got a note to, hey, we can't wait to have you. And then she's got
basically that. It was basically that.
That's so hilarious.
So Bernie's office calls. I see the number pop up. Oh boy, here we go. And it's Christina. Hey, Christina, I've got Bernie on the line for, all right, put him on. We're friends again. Goodbye. Click. And that was it. Like Marty's talk had, that was it. Wow. He literally hung up the phone. We're friends. And he understood. He understood because we were friends, and he had gone into protecting. Of course, Wayne let him go as a manager shortly thereafter. Like none of it. You realize it's all business. And if you do the right thing and are responsible, you know, then if somebody's pissed about it, that's not on you. Like for me, I have to handle myself responsibly and professionally. And if somebody's got their feathers ruffled,
not your problem.
I've done my best. If I can really go to sleep at night going, you did your best to hold your end of the bargain. And you know, that show didn't let Wayne got other shows, and Wayne's super talented. And the guy that ended up in the spot I vacated is still with Wayne. He's been doing Let's Make a Deal for 20 years or however long it's been. Cat Gray. So it all worked out perfectly, but it was an awkward, it was not fun. But that's how I met Jimmy. Yeah.
So that's how you got him. What a cool story. So tell me a couple of funny stories from a Kimmel show. I'm sure there's nothing but laughs on that. And by the way, I remember Toshi, he's got such a good story, you know, his whole career arc, how he came here and all that stuff. That was really cool.
Toshi is a great guy, and it's the one of the sad things about COVID is that I've played with Toshi. He was from Cecilia Noel's band too. That's how I was a fan of Toshi's before I you know, from the Cecilia band. I would just worship because he was kind of like a Landau guy, but had the Eddie Van Halen stuff, and he would shred, and he had his cool hybrid guitar with the shark bottle opener hanging off the side, and I thought he was rad. But Toshi and I have played almost every day since then, since '97. So this is the first time where I haven't seen Toshi. We're like brothers too.
Wow, that's like 24. That's a long time.
A long time.
24 years.
I miss seeing him every day and playing, getting to hear him every day. Boy, if you've ever got the chance to spend a commercial break at a television show hearing Toshi take an extended solo, it's bonkers.
It's awesome. Yeah.
He's got a lot of vocabulary and a lot of fire. So yeah, so I miss Tosh, but
funny stories.
Funny stories. Well, Toshi in a hot tub for a comedy bit's pretty great. There's a lot of those. I remember we were in Detroit. We were in Detroit doing a Super Bowl week show. This is early on, maybe 2005, whenever the Detroit Super Bowl was. I'm sure you can. and the Funk Brothers were on, who is the Motown. And I also play trombone. It's usually out, but it's in its case right now, probably wisely. And Cleto played saxophone as well as singing. And we were in the horn section. We were part of the horn section for the Funk Brothers, which is really cool. And the Funk Brothers were going to back up the Four Tops, I think.
Those guys are gone. The Funk Brothers.
This was toward the end. Like we lost probably Bob Babbitt was there. Like a lot of the guys were there. We lost like 3 of them within the next 18 months.
Because I looked all those guys up. I wanted to have some of them, all of them on my show, and they were gone.
No, we got it. And I remember, I don't remember the drummer's name, and I should have looked, but the Funk Brothers, this was their moment. The movie had come out. This is finally their moment in the sun, right? Like, we are now not backing into, we are the Funk Brothers and we are an artist. So they were getting you'd see a lot of them at this point. I have to put this phone away because it keeps lighting up. I'm so popular. All these sessions coming.
I'm costing you money as we speak.
No, not at all. Everyone can wait.
They're calling Wayne Brady's guy.
So he wants to do, no, I'm not even going to say it. I'm going to wait till offer. So we're in the horn section and the Funk Brothers didn't really want to back up the Four Tops. So this is their moment. So, our show had put, how cool, we're in Detroit. We're going to have the Funk Brothers backing up the Four Tops. It's going to be, which for TV is a great look, right? Where we've got the Detroit, the source of Detroit. We were in the horn section, and I remember the Four Tops had their own musical director, and the Funk Brothers were handling themselves. So it was a bit of a, it's like, wait a second, why are we backing up again? We spent 30 years not, to get to not back. So the Four Tops musical director was backstage eating the food that had been delivered, and we're on stage ready to run for cameras. TV is very, okay, cameras ready. Okay, we're going to do rundown. We got 2 run-throughs, and then we got to get on air. We got audience waiting. The MD is eating chicken out back. So they say we're ready to roll, and the Funk Brothers handle them, and they're ready for. They're like, where's your guy at? Where's your guy at? Like, because he wanted to conduct. We don't need to be conducted. We play it on the record. So there's this rift, and
we don't need to be conducted. We played on the record. That's great.
They counted it off, and the Four Tops came in doing their choreography, and the Funk Brothers wouldn't play, because their musical director that wanted to conduct them wasn't out from eating his chicken out back. So Cleto and I watched the Four Tops come in, and there was no music playing, and they were doing their choreography. It was just the silence. And they said, "Hey man, what the hell is it? Man, where your guy at?" And we were crying. Watching 4 grown men do choreography to silence, and then them bickering, and then the MD coming out licking his fingers from the chicken. What's going on? And he's like, "Man, where you at?" They were, it was just so old school and so great. So I remember that. And I remember there used to be a lot of, we have a bar at Kimmel and in the green room. And so I remember first season, everybody would visit the bar before. So it was a lot looser. And we taped live. So we were on at midnight then. So we were taping at 9:00 at night. So, and they were fully catered. So we'd have these great restaurants coming, and we'd have full dinners. And it was like, and that's kind of the vibe that the show wanted to send, is that like, we're the new late night, we're what it's really like in LA. And it really was, for better or worse. So it was loose. I remember Cleto riding around on a big wheel around the stage while it was like madness.
It's so fun.
But the great memories are, we're a family. The Cletones were called. We've known each other since we were in Cecilia's band, and then we're a cover band, and then so it's kind of the real laughs usually come. We have mics to each other, so
so you can bust each other's balls like nobody else knows.
Even more than that, like just the subtext and the shit that makes us laugh. I mean, that's just having a family, and Cleto's dad's in the band, and that's a beautiful story. Jimmy got Cleto's dad. Cleto's dad I met when I was with Julio. He worked backstage at Caesar's Palace. He had hung up his saxophone 20 years before to raise his kid, and Jimmy got him to retire from Caesar's and bust his saxophone back out. So we've got a guy that really got back into the music business because Jimmy has a great heart, and that's who Jimmy is.
That's really
nice.
Lucky.
He's a great person.
Favorite
and the laughs
guests
are there's never a day I go to work where we don't laugh, where I don't laugh.
That is like so rewarding, man.
You asked how I look youngish. That's probably why.
That's probably
I laugh every day.
No, if you're listening to the audio, he doesn't look youngish. This guy looks like he's about 22 and he's
oh my god,
a little old. No, you look 27. I mean 30, let's say. Okay, let me be,
I look at 27, I would have looked like I'd had one too many margaritas.
Yeah. No, but you look great, man.
Thanks.
Who some of the cooler guests that have been on the show that you've enjoyed playing with? And that's probably hundreds, but
no. Well, Todd Rundgren you can't see. I have a Todd Rundgren poster here. He's one of my heroes. So having Todd on, and we played Time Heals, which is one of my favorite songs of all times. And he had sent, he doesn't often. He's doing them now on this last tour, but there was a long time where he didn't really want to just play the hits.
Mm-hmm.
So we got him to play some of the hits, but I like a lot of the album. And Time Heals is one of my favorite songs. And I think there was a 5th slot of songs open, and I picked that one. And he said, "Wow, are you cool to do that?" And I said, "Yeah." I'd written out the charts, and he said, "Well, if we could do it a step down." Thankfully, I'd written the charts in Sibelius, so I could just transpose it.
Oh my god!
And got to play one of my favorite songs with one of my favorite guys.
How cool is that you had done that on Sibelius? Imagine if you just said, "I need to do the half step down." He'd be like,
I would have told the guys, we're a half step down. That would have been it.
Yeah.
Do your work. Yeah. I mean, we used to do, we may still do, who knows, but the Red Show, which is Bono's AIDS foundation. And, to get, I was on the road with Steve Martin and Martin Short. We were in New Jersey driving to a gig in the van, the 3 of us. And I got a text, "Get ready for a call from Bono. He wants to talk about the song we're doing next." So sure enough, if you tell the 14-year-old Jeff that I'm going to be in the car with Steve Martin and Martin Short, and I'm waiting for a call from Bono, and then I have to tell them to be quiet for a second because Bono's on that all happened.
Yeah.
And Bono was super cool. And I end up rehearsing with Bono who is, was really inspiring because you realize it's no accident that he's as successful as he is. He's so focused, knows so much about music and what will reach an audience and what will work. It was amazing. I just got, that guy knows he's got the stuff.
I think,
all he wanted to do was talk about Bohemian Rhapsody, the movie, and how much he liked it and how much he liked Freddie Mercury. It was like, oh, this is all happening. And then kind of walking with my hero, Herbie Hancock, who was there to play piano, and watching Herbie Hancock learn a song and become Herbie Hancock on a piece of music was nuts. As far as sit-ins, there's so much. Maceo Parker was really special because
that's cool.
How he brought a band's pocket to where he feels things was incredible to watch. George Benson, to watch George Benson warm up on a solo guitar version of Tenderly before it's like, oh, I'm getting solo guitar, George Benson playing Tenderly 1 foot from where I'm standing does not suck.
It's hard to get better than that as a gig, to have a gig.
You're absolutely right.
That's awesome.
And playing I'm Every Woman with Shaka Khan. I mean, there's been a lot of like pinch me moments for sure. Really awesome.
That's awesome. And I'm happy that you get to do that. That's really cool.
Thanks.
James Taylor.
Yeah.
Who I didn't realize he sells out like football. I mean, like, Cubs, Chicago Cubs, field. He's I didn't realize he sells out these big stadiums.
Yes, man. I did Wrigley Field with James. It was awesome. Yeah.
That's so cool. So how did you get the gig with him? How'd you connect with him? That's a major gig. Yeah,
that was exciting. 2003, Kimmel had just started, so we've been on the air about 6 months. Larry Goldings, who was a hero of mine, still is. Larry, I had met through Chad Fisher, who they're old friends from childhood. Chad is a great songwriter, TV composer, drummer, multi-instrumentalist. I met Larry through Chad, and we became friends. Larry moved out here. He had been doing the James gig for about 1.5 years. He was going to have, I think they were going to have their first child. I can't remember if it was their first or second. It was their son, I think. So it was their second. But he didn't want to be on the road while she was going to give birth. So he said, would you do it? I knew Mike Landau. I had played with Mike. I'd done a record or 2 with Mike and played live with him a little bit. And so Mike vouched for me. Jimmy Johnson, I had met through Mike as well. I had done some gigs with Jimmy. I did some gigs with Jimmy and Simon. We did a thing for Sure. We played which I don't know. I looked the other day. I don't know if it exists, but it was a NAMM event. We did it at NRG. I've never heard the track. I'm sure Simon has it, but we did 2 songs with Eddie Kramer at NRG with Jimmy Johnson, Simon, I think Luke. Yeah. And Lukather. And so I knew these guys and they vouched for me. I never thought Jimmy Johnson really bought me because Mike Lana had a trio with Tos Panos. And then I came in, they brought me in, and I thought Jimmy's like, I thought we were a trio. What's this yuck doing here? And he was right, by the way. But that's not true. He was just kind of protecting the trio, and he's been nothing but warm, and he encouraged me to buy my first house, and he's family to me.
That's awesome.
He's been a really great influence.
It's funny how.
So yeah, I got the gig. I got board tapes from Larry of the set because they were mid-tour. I was going to replace him mid-tour for like, a month. I would practice the set every day. I had keyboards solo left, band solo right. I would learn the keyboard parts, and then I'd play along, then I'd refine, then I'd play along. So by the time I got to the first gig, which is Kansas City. No, I can't remember where it was, somewhere in the Midwest. I had played the set. I felt like I'd played the set already. I'd already done 2 weeks of playing the set. So I remember James said, is there anything specific you want to, I was really, the main thing I was nervous about was playing with Steve Gadd. I think,
I've told, pretty intimidating.
I've told folks like the first set of that, because it's 2 sets with James, if it's his own tour, if there's no opening act. The first half was me just making sure I wasn't on top. I wasn't like, I wasn't on top of Steve Gadd because he's back. I don't know if I achieved that, but I was so nervous just to be with Steve. And then it took about halfway into the second half to realize James Taylor was standing there. I was like, oh, right. I should probably.
Oh, you were so freaked out.
I was so freaked out. Yeah. And I grew up listening to James, so I should have been intimidated by that, but he's so kind that he didn't make me feel that at all. He asked if there was anything during sound check I wanted to run, and I was like, nah, I've kind of done the set. And he was like, oh, okay. But I didn't mean to be cocky. I was just like, I will probably get more nervous the more we run. I'd rather let's just do it. And we did. And so ever since, it's either Larry or myself. I think, there's been one other guy that came in and did it, but basically, I've been doing, I did a bunch of private gigs with just James and a cellist and the singers. And so we've logged a lot of fun hours traipsing the country together. It's been amazing.
That's awesome.
One of the greatest people I've ever come across.
What I don't want to put you on the spot, but why do you, and if you don't want to answer, this is cool. You've played with top artists, right? Why do you think you get the call for this? Because you get it consistently, you're super easy to get along with. I can tell that now. And I think you probably go out of your way. I think you're like that, but I think it's probably top of consciousness for you to go out of your way to, not to be disingenuous, but like to be that guy that's easy to get along with. But do you think that's why you get the call from all these top artists?
I'm happy to answer it. I wish I knew the answer. I think, I consider myself a student all the time. So much like what I said earlier about pretending I have the gear or pretending, I will do my best to learn not just the songs or the material, but what that artist is into, like what makes them tick, what gets them excited. Should I know more about that? Like, I always think I'm so lucky to get to do this because as I've mentioned, I only know how to do this. So if I'm going to do it, let's go all in. Yeah. And I go all in with everything. Like I really try to be of service. Like I realize as soon as it becomes about me, it's no longer the correct balance. This is about the music. This is about serving the music. This is about serving the artist or producer or composer. I am a mere cog, and if I can leave that artist or composer or producer or whatever, in a better space, whether it's the hour or 3 hours they spent with me that day, or if it's the musical contribution, or if it's remote, if they get in their inbox and they fly my tracks in and they light up, mission accomplished. And so I think being kind of right-sized about my contribution and my where I fit into music and to this business and into the world, if that's about providing joy to somebody and giving somebody a great lift or something, maybe a surprise, a fun surprise, anything like that, I feel like that's my job and that's my role. So I don't think that people necessarily realize that's why they call, but I try not to be a pain in the ass. And I realize that not every song is going to be James Taylor or going to be, one of these. There are a lot of artists that maybe don't have that cachet or even that level of songwriting or craftsmanship. Of course, there's only one James Taylor. There's only one of these, but to them, this is the biggest deal. This is their song. They're calling somebody. They're calling me to. They're scared. They who knows where they're at or that. Yeah. This is their song, and let's make it great. So that's I think, and I'm realizing more and more in the last year, 5 years that I'm in a service position. Like
your attitude about this is so on point, man. I mean, it's so on point. You are in the service business, and that's when you say you try to find out what the artist hot buttons. Will you pick up the phone and call a few of your buddies and say, hey, what is
no, I'm looking, I'm using a thing that I've discovered called the Google. And no, I'm looking at old interviews like when I started
research, like I do research to
big time. Oh yeah, go deep. Like if I'm going to work with Vinnie Colaiuta, I want to know what Tony Williams records got him excited. I'm going to play those songs in the breaks and get him excited and get him to play along. Oh yeah, we're going to go in. We're going in because it gets me excited. I'm still a fan.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm going to put on a record with these guys that I get to play with. What gets them excited? They want to be excited too.
Oh, that is so smart. So yeah, man, that's really good.
And it's not a tactic. It's
like, hey man, how do I get this? You just said it. How do I get Vinny fired up? I play some shit that he likes during the break. Hey,
yeah. Man, let's play some stuff from Ego. Let's get in there, man. Come on. And it's exciting. I enter every, if I get to do a session with Kenny Aronoff and Lee Sklar and Tim Pierce I'm still excited. Like this is exciting for me. Even younger session, if I'm on a session with guys that are a half generation, I still want to bring that excitement, know. And maybe they see old Jeff as exciting for them. So let's bring the level of fun, and let's have fun. We're making music.
Man, well, good for you for doing that extra work. That's really smart. It's doing your homework. That is really clever, man. And I don't know. Maybe it's happened. I'm sure it has, but I haven't had a dialogue with someone who goes that deep in over 800 interviews, man. So, that's a great reason why people want you around. You've done the work, man. You didn't just learn the shit, but you said, hey, where did this guy get influence from? Where did this woman get her chops from? Or what? That's really cool, man.
Well,
everybody listening to this should listen to this guy.
Oh, wow. Thanks. Well,
no, seriously.
To work with Ferroni last year. Well, we've worked a lot, but in the past, but I'm going to go to, I'm a fan, or JR or any of these guys. I am a fan. I'm going to now listen to all of my, all the back catalog, Average White Band, all the Shaka, all the, not just because I want to impress, just because it's so good. I want to know there's not enough time in a day or a week or a month to listen to all the back catalog of all my heroes. But I'm going to go as deep as I can. I got a lot of car rides, so let's do it.
Totally, man. That's really cool, man. That's awesome. Any other gigs you'd like to chat about that, or let's do this. Top 3 experiences you've had musically.
thank you for saying musically, because it was going to get weird for a second.
That's okay, man. We
no. That
awesome,
first
man.
night with since it's fresh, that I remember being at Fenway with James Taylor, Bonnie Raitt opening, and messing around, like having a great hang with Bonnie beforehand, and going out to Fenway and playing with James Taylor and looking. And I would look on that tour, this was 2017, at James singing Fire and Rain, which I'd heard since I was a little kid through my mom would listen to it. And he sings Fire and Rain like he's never sung it before. Like he's just singing it for the first time at the Troubadour. Like he's just written.
Wow.
And you see a guy in his, in his 60s.
I thought he was in the 70s, maybe.
And he's singing a song he's sung thousands upon thousands of times, like he's never sung, because he's connecting with this audience on that song right now. He's in right now. And I would see people in these stadium crying and hugging one another. Like this moment means the world to them. And I get to play the freaking piano on this. And also the piano part of the version of Fire and Rain that we do now is an homage to Don Grolnick, who is his MD and one of my heroes. So I get to play kind of I get to be Don Grolnick on Fire and Rain. Are you kidding me? So there are moments where you sit and you're out of body and you're like looking through the lens and going, yeah, this is bananas. And this is really cool. So when I can kind of come out of myself and realize, this is cool. Those are big. Gosh, I remember the first, jazz festivals, being a jazz fan, playing North Sea with Simon Phillips and just being in that community and going down to North Sea used to be in Den Haag, and you'd all go to this hotel afterwards, and there was a kind of basement bar where all the cats would hang. So I remember Bob Malik, who's a tenor sax player, introducing me to Joe Zawinul, and Joe Zawinul could booze, and I'm having martinis with Joe Zawinul. I have no idea what was said, but I know he was into hanging, like young until it closed. Yeah. Me and Joe, and Bob went somewhere else. Me and Joe closed down the bar. I don't know. I just knew I had to keep up with Joe. I don't remember being gross or anything. I just remember he was ready. He was cool to hang. Like it was probably back to that fan in me. I'd probably said enough things about his career that and proved that I was not intimidated and could usually that's the key. No, I'm just here to hang. So that was fun. I remember that felt to be in cool. The community felt really, I think a lot of those exciting moments come from the fan in me realizing that this is my life, and it's pretty awesome.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And getting to share the stage with Vic and with a lot of my friends, and just looking across stage and just having those moments of we are really tight friends and we're at Radio City and life is good.
That's so cool, man. Thank you. That's really good. It's you. I've had Simon on here. You must be even at a young age, your chops had to be great because he is really demanding. He's a very I'm saying that in a good way. I'm not like he's an asshole. He demands a lot of himself, and he demands a lot of the people he's working with. So, that's a pretty cool thing.
I feel like I should have, if there's a regret, it's that I didn't do more, that I didn't have more discipline as far as facility and dexterity. Because a lot of my heroes, Chick, who we just lost, and even Upmaro that plays with Simon now, and their facility is just beautiful. For me, my strength with Simon was always that I was such a fan and that I'd learn his music and internalize and kind of be able to be in his world. So we're still really tight, and I still aspire to get technically more where I think I could be.
Well, the old school's never out for the pro, man.
No question about it.
Sure, no question
about it.
Yeah.
No, my wife just put a stack of classical music that she wants me to accompany. So I've got my work cut out. I looked at one set of 30-second notes and went, okay, good luck with that. But it's great to it's great at this age and at this point in my career to feel like I just learned Final Cut Pro over the weekend. Like, it's so great for the old dog to learn new tricks.
To learn,
it really
yeah,
is
man.
Awesome. It's a great feeling.
It's funny. I have Morrow coming on. He's an amazing jazz. What a jazz.
Tell him what's up. I love him. I will never catch up at Morrow. I'll never catch up.
All right, let's talk about a couple of albums from your own projects. Let's start with Ebunctions. So you have a new album coming out.
Let me send one text.
What? Yeah. What's the name of the record? Because I didn't see a name when you sent it to me. I saw it, but is there a title, official title? Can we reveal it here?
Yes, I think it's called. I'm sending.
It's called "This Playlist Is Private." That's not the title, though, right?
It's called. Cleverly enough, "This Playlist is Private." No, it's called. I think it's called "This Just In."
Okay, cool. This just in. So, who's in this band, and how'd you guys come together?
That's a great question. Woody Mankowski is a really talented singer, songwriter, saxophone player, arranger.
He's a beast. That guy's voice.
He's a beast.
I mean, he's a genuine. I mean, that guy could tear it up vocally.
You're absolutely right. He'd been doing jingles in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and writing transcription books for Hal Leonard, I think. Maybe I got it wrong. He won't care. Like transcribing the Saxophone Masters. So this guy is like, he sings his butt off. He was playing cover gigs. He's singing jingles. He came out to LA because he had exhausted all, what was there. Came in his, when he was in his 40s to LA. I met him on a brass band gig. I was told, listen, he could sing and play. He played like King Curtis and sing like, Steve Winwood or Otis like Otis. He wanted to finish some songs, and I was always too busy. It was Kimmel Monday through Thursday, and at this point it was basically Steve Martin Short from Friday to Sunday. So I had no days. I'd try to help, but we didn't really connect. And when COVID hit, he sent me all these unfinished songs and he said, "Can you help me now?" And I said, "Yeah, you know what, I can." So we ended up having this. We didn't see each other for the first couple months. He only lives a couple miles away, but we would send unfinished songs back and forth. And I would either finish a bridge, or maybe he'd only have lyrics and I'd write the whole song, and then he'd tweak a B section or whatever. It became very easy. We were just filling in the blanks, and now we're not even sure on a lot of songs who did what.
So you both you and Woody
co-wrote
co-wrote the whole record. Okay.
Basically started as, let's finish these songs. And then it became, we got to record these songs. And he had thought maybe we get a bunch of the LA session guys. And I said, I think this is not that. I don't think this is a glory. Listen, people don't buy records because so-and-so's on it, really, in droves. They might get a couple folks, but we need to figure out I'm big on casting. We need to cast this correctly. What is this music at its core? And what is this music? Why this music? I said, Ferrone's not on the road right now. I'm going to see it. He's got a rig at home. Let's see if he's into it. He's like, and I remember the last email when I had been in touch with Ferrone a couple of years ago, he had proposed doing a horn band, much like the Average White Band or Brecker Brothers he was referencing. He said, I remember the end of the email said, "Let's be fearless." Said, all right. So that's I remembered that in the back, and I said, I'm going to check out Ferrone, and immediately, yeah, let's do this. Let's do it at my place, but I don't want to do it by myself. Can we get the bass player? So I said, let me think about that. And my friend Ethan Farmer is he's one of my, Ethan knows this, but I always reference this gospel record he was on, Dorinda Clark Cole Live. If you want to hear a great gospel record, Dorinda Clark Cole Live.
What's her name? Dorinda?
Dorinda, yeah.
Okay.
She's one of the Clark sisters. But there's a live record that she did that he plays bass on, and I can air bass and sing everything he plays on this record. He also, plays with all the pop acts. So I've known Ethan for a long time, but we were never in a band together. And I did a couple of gigs. I think that we got to play live gigs under my own name, just messing around with Kirk Fletcher, and I think Ethan played. And
so you were playing blues then? If Kirk,
I had some weird band that my buddy Tree Adams, who's a composer, guitar player, said, "Would you lead a band? We'll do some gigs." So I put a band together, and we were playing some Buddy Miles and some stuff like that.
Buddy Miles is awesome.
Oh my gosh, Buddy Miles Express. We were playing stuff from Booger Bear of all, and Kirk was into it, and
makes sense.
And Ethan did that. But I called Ethan. Everyone was into it, and everyone was home. No one was on the road. So Ethan and Steve, I demoed everything with Woody. A lot of that demo stuff lived, at least the keyboards, because I couldn't outplay it. Steve and Ethan tracked to that. Then Shane Theriot literally landed from New Orleans. I had met Shane when I was on the road with James Taylor in New Orleans, through our tour manager. Shane's like, I moved here. I said, hey, you want to play on a record? So we became a band. It was like, it all kind of happened. It was just one of those great things. It was like, this all was effortless. I cast it exactly how I would have wanted to cast it. Woody was on board. And everyone was super pumped to do it. We just shot a video. It'll come out in the next couple of weeks.
And all because of COVID, y'all had the time, pretty much.
We were all in town.
Yeah,
we were all in town, and all pumped to just make music, which is at the center. You realize you find people that it's not about business, or it's not about what does this do for me. It's just about the music. It's organically sprouts as it should. So this album feels great. Everybody sounds great on it. Super fun. We had a couple, Tom Scott played a sax on one of the instrumental, and Amy Keys and Charlotte Gibson sang on it, but Lenny Castro played some percussion. But basically it's the five of us playing songs, and it's a throwback R&B record. Ferrone's a beast. Shane sounds great. Ethan sounds great. Woody sings his ass off.
He's honestly one of the best singers I've heard. I mean,
thank you. It's his time, and it's his moment in the sun. As far as it's time to show the world what a monster he is.
Oh God, yeah. It was just like, I mean, really like tears it up, man. Like, just like
he no joke, and plays. He did all the horn arranging. I'm so used to doing horn arranging, and I it's funny, like we just figured out each other's roles, and it was so nice to hear horns coming back. Well, I played some of I played the trombone, but my buddy Jamie Havorka played trumpet, and you just go, oh, it's so nice for somebody else to do that and hear, you just to welcome other voices. It's so fun to not have to micromanage everything and just let it become what it was, and super fun.
Did you so you really got to kind of relax and just enjoy the music?
It was a lot of work, like a lot of pre-production here, all the synths, all the and Woody's very particular, as he should. We were both very particular about what we like, but I don't need to do all of it. I could share it with the other guys, which is great. Cool. But a bunch of guys that care about music and want it to be great, which is so fun. Well, so I'm really proud of the record. I hope people get to hear it. And the video is very silly. We're in shorts that are way too short and a skating rink. So
where is the video going to be shown on? Is there a YouTube channel?
It'll come out. You'll see it on the platform soon. We're figuring out the strategy to release it. But in the next, it's done. I just finished color correcting it yesterday, and it looks really fun and great. And it'll be out on
where
YouTube and
on YouTube. What
on his socials? Yeah,
your channel or.
Yeah, my channel, I'll have it. And then there'll probably be an Ebunctions channel soon as well. Okay. And there's, I think, an Ebunctions Instagram. I'm not on the socials anymore, so I won't be handling it.
What happened? Were you on social media and you just deleted it?
Yeah.
What happened? The political shit?
No, well, partly. Yeah, Twitter, I used to think Twitter was fun. I liked it. I know Sarah Silverman a little bit, and I knew a lot of other folks, and I get a kick out of them, but it became a place that was causing me stress more than giving me joy. And when I realized that balance had shifted, I just tried not. I thought, I get my news from Twitter. Well, why don't you try getting your news from news? Oh, okay. I have a news feed on Apple News and Flipboard. And that was much healthier for me. It wasn't news as reflected by a million different personal views and things that were built
all the political experts and the internal medicine experts
and set up to make me feel a certain way about it, which was working. And then Instagram was more troublesome because I felt it was doing exactly what it was supposed to do: lift up everybody's best moment and make me feel like my life was reflected as through people's greatest moments. And I felt like a failure every day. I felt like,
how come I don't have 4 gigs lined up this Sunday?
Well, and I was realizing, like, my peers, God bless them, but it's like, do you have to tell me you're in the studio today? Like, you're announcing your preamp.
You know,
I love this preamp, and I'm using it today at East West or whatever. You know, I think, okay, I get it, but you know, that stuff was starting to. Everyone needs to promote and feel, you know, relevant. This is a town that celebrates and that demands that, but that wasn't healthy for me anymore.
Yeah, good for you, man. I'm glad you. Well, it gets too much because it gets to the point where I don't know. Let's see this. Thanks to Carnegie Deli for the mug. I mean, it's like,
yes,
you know,
and I'm not even hating on it. Like, it's a necessary element for
evil.
Folks to have a career.
Necessary evil.
I just wanted to not be in it and see if it worked. And maybe I've lost work, and that's okay. Like, both my wife and I are looking to the next chapter anyway. Like, anybody that wants to work with a singer just reached out last week, said, I wanted to work with you for all these years, but you're kind of a hard guy to find. Not really. Really easy to find. Remember all those old ways? Yeah, I'm right here. I haven't gone anywhere. And it was really funny, but it's just because she doesn't see me every day telling I'm here. You know, it's like, if you don't tell everybody I'm here every day, they maybe think you're not, but
I think you're not.
I'm just not interested in telling everybody I'm here every day anymore. It's like, I am here if anybody's curious, but it was getting exhausting for me to have to tell everybody I'm here, and then to watch everybody else reminding me that they're here. It's like, I can pick up the phone and I can check on my buddies, and they're right there where I left them, you know, or where they left me.
Man, I totally get it. I'm not. If I didn't have the show, I probably
you have to, and I get
promote the show.
Like, the band will have to be represented because it's absolutely a component that is necessary to have people be aware. I get it. It just wasn't healthy for me personally.
Good. Good. Well, you know what really is interesting? You know, when we were younger, let's say you're getting into a relationship and you're getting, I know people don't do this anymore, but they get married, you know, back in the day. And, you know, there's certain issues you'd have to try to like discuss, maybe like religious practices, or are we going to have kids and how we're going to raise them or whatever. But now I think social media is an important one, because I see people, I got people in my feed that post 20 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if my wife posted 20 times a day, that'd be problematic in my relationship. Or if I posted 20 times a day, that'd be problematic about, hey, here we go. We're going to breakfast and just finished breakfast, off to the park. I mean, like, it's way too much. It became
impossible. You're absolutely right. And it became impossible for me to be in my actual life, because it was my actual life as refracted 100 times. And I wasn't able to zoom back into where I was at. It's like, is where I am only valid because I've shown people that this is where I am? That for me became tough.
Yeah.
And that wasn't healthy for me.
Well, to me, it's a job. Like, I don't ever, it's funny because my kids are, like I said, not the 30-year-old, the 29, but my 21-year-old, something happens, her camera's out.
Sure.
Like,
that's right.
And like, I would never, like, I don't want to.
And again, if you're 21, like if I was 21, I'd be that guy. No question. Right. But when I was 46, 47, I went, I think I was still trying to be that guy. And there's a great line that this Bobby Keys, the sax player for the role.
Yeah.
He there's a documentary that's worth seeing, but he says, he was kind of hard living guy. I realize most of us get into this when we're about 18, and most of us don't, we kind of stay there. I get it. And I realized there was a part of that. Like, I got into this when I was young, and there's part of me that thinks I'm still that guy that's getting into music, or that,
it's the passion that you had. Yeah. Is still there.
But I have to grab that passion and put it into an appropriate area for a guy of my age bracket. And it feels much more centered this way.
Yeah, taking selfies is probably not what you got into this for. It's funny. I had Ian Pace, who's like one of my heroes, and I was like, I don't get starstruck, but I was like, Ian, I said, man, I hate to go down this road with you, but I have to tell you, I feel like I'm 15 years old talking to you. And you know what he said? He goes, Craig, I know exactly how you feel. When I'm on stage, I feel like I'm 15 too. I mean, what a lovely response.
No question about it.
I
That's
mean,
the coolest. It's cool that you said that, and it's cool that he said that, because that's exactly how it should be. And that's the core of why we do what we do. I mean, it really is. And you should be able to touch that. And that's what I think live music opening back up will help people to realize how important and essential that connection is.
God, I certainly think so as well, man. I want to ask you a couple of songs on the Ebunctions record. Cool. Feast or Famine. Awesome track. Backing vocals are great. The horn, great keyboards, great guitar solo. Ferrone's like a freaking Swiss watch on there. Any backstory to that song?
That's Woody's lyrics. You'd have to ask Woody. He he's had a journey to get to where he's at, moving out to LA and going through, the personal stuff that people go to. And that's his lyric. And it's a great lyric. And I think that's a lyric that I wrote the music to. It was his lyric and I wrote the music, and then we tweaked the music. But yeah, the lick, the piano lick, is basically like almost a Michael McDonald. Michael McDonald gets a lot of props, but never enough props for his piano playing. Man, and it's got a little Freedom Overspill, Steve Winwood too, I think, that song. So the influences are all right there. We just made it our version of it. So that's where that song's from.
Great song. And then She Don't Love Me. It was kind of like first of all, that was a really fun track.
Thanks.
It was a lot of fun. And it reminded me kind of like a gospel, like a church gospel song. It was really cool. It was just you and Woody. And it was just a really nice track. Well, tell me about that. That
was me on right before my wife and I had dinner out behind the studio. I went to the Wurlitzer, which is over there, and played something into my iPhone. I had an idea and played it into my iPhone, sent it to Woody, and after dinner, I had a lyric back in my phone that he'd sent. So we recreated that. I had kind of mumbled a melody on the original demo, so it was not as usable. But we did it with one mic at the Pete Min's studio where we tracked a lot of it. We did it one mic with the Whirly on an amp and Woody singing on a mic. And it's I think our second take, and it's an homage to Ray Charles probably, or something like that. Definitely playing. It just kind of wrote itself. And I think Woody's lyrics are he said it's kind of like an old country lyric, like just wearing your heart on your sleeve, and just no one writes lyrics like that. It's a really funny lyric. In fact, Kimmel heard it and he loves that lyric too. He was quoting those lyrics back. They're really clever, funny, just enough truth in there that it stings a little bit.
Great song, man. I really like.
Thank you.
Do you have a favorite song on the record?
Well, the first single is Running in Place. That seems to be and that's what we got a video for. No, I'm really proud of the whole record, man. I'm really proud of the whole record. I love the way it starts with Nothing But Your Love, with the strings, kind of Philly soul, tribute to kind of the Philly kind of sound, soul sound, R&B sound, Gamble and Huff, all that, Philadelphia International, all that. And it's a fun ride. It should just be fun to listen to. It should take you back to washing the car with your boombox out and not think, maybe going to the roller rink, whatever you do, having a good time.
It's great record.
Thanks.
And I want to talk about Crow Nuts that you did in 2015. I know it's classified as jazz, but like I said, to me, it's like very Dark Side of the Moonish at times. But not like, this is what I wrote, not acid jazz, but like smoke a joint and then play acid jazz.
Yes.
Who's in that band and how did that come together?
That record, basically the Baked Potato, which I've mentioned, is a local club. It's like 5 minutes from my house. I've been going there since I was 14. Justin at the Baked Potato offered me a gig. At that point, I'd played the Baked Potato so much that I didn't have anything to offer that room. Like, I wasn't into blowing loud, and like, that wasn't where I was at. But I thought, well, if I can come up with a concept to play at this, like, what would I bring there that doesn't go to the Baked Potato usually? And I thought of this: what if Talking Heads met Charlie Mingus? Like, what would that sound like? And Tim LaFave is like, he's such a fearless musician, and he loves to go where maybe where hasn't been visited musically, but also where he has it. Like he and I both are like, let's go into the unknown and let's not bring a map and let's see where we've gone after the gig and let's laugh about it. That's his spirit, is relentlessly whimsical and kind of just let's go. And Lewis Cole, the drummer, is another one. You know, if you know the band Knower, or he has a couple projects. There's nobody more talented. So I thought Tim and Lewis and I had played together a little bit anyway. That's a perfect rhythm section. If they're available, let's do it. Lewis started programming some loops, and I wrote these songs. I had been listening to this weird compilation from like Uncut magazine or Electronic Sound or something. And there was some new music that was getting me excited. And I was kind of using the spirit of this new music, mostly coming from England and Europe. And then Dan Rosenboom, who I hadn't worked with before, but now
oh my God.
Yeah, he's nuts. His new record, Absurd in the Anthropocene, which I produced, is bonkers. Tim's on that as well.
Who plays clarinet?
Oh, that's Alex Budman. Yes, I know. I don't know. I didn't ask Alex to bring a clarinet, but he did. And you go, okay, great. Bring a clarinet. Of course, a clarinet belongs on this. It made no sense, but that's what's great about the record. It was just and my buddy John Paterno engineered it.
Yeah.
He recorded it, so it doesn't really.
He's
sound
a University of Miami guy, right?
He is indeed.
Yeah. All
right. He and a Jacksonville resident now, by the way. He's your neighbor.
I heard about that.
He recorded it, so it wasn't meant to sound like a live record, but it was meant to capture a spirit of a moment. And then the rest of the record is us sending tracks, or Tim Young, a crazy guitar player who's on the James Corden band.
Okay.
Everyone has the spirit of, I don't know what we're doing, so perfect. You know, that's like, just let's make it weird and let's embrace the awkward. And but it's all cemented in the groove.
Totally, man.
So it really does feel like Talking Heads meets Mingus, and maybe that meets at a Pink Floyd, because you know nobody talks about the Pink Floyd, like Gilmour's solo records are so, and the Townsend record with Simon on it with Gilmour. We forget that it's not just a band. It's like these people's you know, the drummer for Pink Floyd has a record on ECM playing jazz. It's like,
Nick Mason. Yeah.
Nick Mason has these great records with like Michael Mantlin, these jazz guys, like, they meet in the middle, you know, these things meet. If you take these elements and you bring them and you, again, we go back to casting. If you cast it properly with the right characters and the right, you know, how will this guy play against this guy or with this guy in a room? And let's see what happens. You know, if you have a bunch of willing listeners, let alone players, sky's the limit. You know, then a guy brings his clarinet that you didn't expect. And suddenly you've got a clarinet solo.
Well, I want to talk about two of the tracks because, I mean, I really like that record. Chonga's Revenge. I've never heard a clarinet and a trumpet sound so sexy. I mean, that was just, and like your vamping blues riffs underneath there. What a build up, the close out at the end. It's just great. And all of you in there are just killing it, man. I mean, everybody was like, it's just stellar. Is there any backstory to that? So, I mean, I know it's
all the titles on that record. And I know you were going to, are my son not being able to speak English yet. I think almost every title is a quote from my kid. So, okay. Who can't say words correctly. So provided great title. I wish he was still 3 or whatever he was, because boy, it was great to hear the English language botched like that. So I think he titled all the tracks, but the song, you know, that's really how it happened in the room.
Just came together.
Let it play long, and that's, you know, that's where probably that Pink Floyd, you just let time do its thing and let music unfold as it does without planning, and with the right, again, Dan and Alex play the horns so beautifully because they're great musicians and they're great listeners, and somehow that makes the clarinet sexy for the first time in life.
Oh, it was so. Who's playing drums on there?
That's Lewis Cole. He's a genius.
Holy shit, man!
He's a genius.
That was like so cool, man. And then How You Sleep.
Yeah.
That's like mostly you and Tim.
Yeah, that's right.
Dude.
Oh no, is that me playing bass? Maybe. I think that might be me playing bass. I got to check.
So it was all you the whole thing? Because it was
me
just
and
bass and
Tim
keyboard.
Young probably on guitar. I think it's the two of us.
I didn't think there was guitar in there. Was there?
Maybe it's just me. I don't think it's just me. I couldn't have unless we needed another 3 minutes on the record, and I just
that wasn't a 3. I mean, if it was, man, you're the most talented genius in the world, because that was freaking awesome. I mean, that was, and just like the title is so cool. How you sleep. That's
my kid. Yeah, I don't remember why he said that, but he said it.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
great track, man.
That album is really like a great product of you find the right people and the right situation and a great kind of corraler of sound like Paterno is, and fearless musicians like Tim Young and Tim LaFave and Lewis Cole, and throw them into a soup and let it and don't watch the pot too hard and let it simmer.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Hey, I know you got to jump soon. I'm just gonna ask you a couple more questions.
Sure.
Low points, Jeff. What were some of the low points or dark periods you've had to deal with, and how'd you
besides right now? See, there's
besides this show. Besides this show,
you know, the low points come from within for me. You know, creating my own anxiety echo chambers.
Yeah.
And they weren't necessarily dealt to me. I can't point at anybody or anything to say this happened to me. I'm thankful I don't have that experience like that.
Yeah.
So I'm really thankful for that. But anxieties and processing things on my own. Yeah, I've had a number of periods where the echo chamber upstairs, I used to call it when the circus comes to town.
That's a song.
Yeah, it's real. And whatever your reality is to others, and this goes back to social media, whatever you think your image is or what people think of your life is only your experience of your life. So we wonder why folks, God forbid, they have trouble and they cause self-harm because their experience is only filtered through their experience. So I've had those moments where it's tough to process stuff, and finding a community of friends and supportive people that understand, people that you can trust, and my wife that understands that we can actually communicate. It's amazing. If I didn't have that support group, now at 48, almost 49, I feel a lot more grounded than I did at 38 or 28, and which is, I guess, a good thing. But I watch people spin out as that, we call it like a clamoring for relevance, right? Which in our town, Hollywood, I mean, I'm in Hollywood.
Yeah.
There naturally is a clamoring for relevance, and this.
Oh, it's overt. It's pretty apparent. I mean,
it's where we are. I mean, people, most of the people that move to Hollywood, that's part of it. I mean, you're already like, okay, so that can mess with you.
Yeah.
And in life, you watch your friends succeed. That should be a cause for celebration. It should not be, well, wait, where do I fit into this?
Yeah.
But it's almost impossible not to let it do so. So that messed with me for a long time, and caused sadness and strife, and finding your own center is the key of that. And it's not a win. It's not like I won, I figured it out. It's a constant check-in of where am I at? What's important? Where's the center here? And it changes as we get older. It changes. Of course it does. So back to the Bobby Keys, it shouldn't be where I was at 18. It shouldn't be there anymore. But as you're marching along, you're not measuring in yards, you're measuring in days and hours, and you're 10 years later and you realize, oh wait, I'm somewhere else. I got to check in with where I am now. And if you're constantly looking at where everyone else is in that moment, you're not looking within. So it's a very long-winded answer, but there was no specific, there have been low points, but they've been mostly self kind of not checking in enough with my own mental health or spiritual health or spiritual kind of centering, and looking at that and being mindful of where I am at all times has been the key to like really being able to move forward in a healthy way.
Yeah. Thank you, man, for sharing that. And I think I agree with you. I think social media burns a lot of people out like that. And I think a lot of people get like, you know, what we said, I don't need to go over it again, but you know, I think a lot of people, I've spoken to a lot of people. It's pretty constant.
If you have a healthy relationship with it, awesome. And it's like that with anything, you know, a lot of people can't be in this business because it's not healthy. And I get it. I get it. But if you're confident in your own journey, in your own kind of right-sized version of it, you're not the center of you're the center of your universe, but you're not the center of the universe. It turns out.
Yeah. Someone told me, maybe it was Mark Lettieri or somebody said, take my job seriously, not myself. So something along those lines.
Right.
So I think is really good. A really good thing. Last question, biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and how much of that change has been deliberate and how much is a natural part of aging?
My buddies from college, more so than my friends from high school, I'm not as close in touch, but my buddies from college, I have a group of friends that were very tight, and I'll go into a thing of, well, you should have seen me back when I was 19. I was such an idiot. And then I remember recently one of my friends going, yeah, he's actually no different. He's the same. I would walk into, you know, my buddy's rehearsal. We were roommates and they'd rehearse at the house. I'd come out with no pants on just because I loved how upset it would make my roommate. And that delighted me with that. Would I do that now? Probably. I'd probably do that now, you know, and trusted come. But I always loved the lightness and the unexpected of life. And what's funny is way more important than, like you said, taking myself too seriously. Like, come on. So apparently the core of my seeing the lightness in life and leaning into how great is this? Like, look at it. This is great. And that's kind of who I've always been. But the change would be to accept that kind of in a mindful way of where I am is okay. That was when it got quiet. Sometimes the hard thing for me to accept was, wait a second, am I, you know, and I don't think it was like that comedian, the sad clown thing where I was lifting things up to hide something. It wasn't that. That is where my center is, and pretty much celebrating what's good about life. It's pretty much where but I had to just lean into that and go, yeah, and that's okay. It's not as refracted by everyone else's experience, or it's not lessened because someone had a good day in the studio, or someone making a record with so-and-so. It is my experience, and that's fine. And, you know, it's very cheesy, but I heard when I was in a dark place, I remember hearing somebody talk about the grass is always greener. And I remember this person, and I will never forget. He said, when the grass is always greener on the other side, you ever try watering your lawn? I thought, oh, right. Like, focus on your side, man. What's wrong with your grass? Like, stop looking over there. And I remember I hear that voice all the time going, right, okay, stay on my side of the fence. Doesn't matter what's going on over there. Who cares? Like, or maybe there's some lovely cows grazing. We wave to the cows over there, and then, you know, put a little seed in here, and that helped me a lot. Like, okay, enough looking over the fence. What can we improve upon? What can we be aware of on our own side of the fence? So that's where I'm at.
Well, man, two things. Number one, I thought this is a great way to end the interview. You said, where I am is okay. I think that's really cool. Number two, I didn't want to say anything, but since you let the cat out of the bag, Jeff has had no pants on this whole time.
Absolutely true. 100% true.
So there you go.
But in this day and age, I thought best to just leave the camera up. Yes, but if you want to see me in short shorts, the running in place video will have that in effect. So apologies in advance.
All right, so let's talk about that. Running in place video is going to come out on the Ebunctions YouTube channel. Ebunctions is EBUNCTIONS. The name of the record is This Just In, right? As we said, This Just In. Great record. I would love everybody to check it out.
It'll be out sometime soon. Keep your eyes open.
great, and it'll be on Ebunctions social media stuff. So look for Ebunctions on the socials.
Yeah, that's all getting launched now. Yeah, thank you, Craig.
It is great.
Yeah, it's in the works. Yes, we're getting all that in a row. So exciting times.
Talk quickly about Band of Other Brothers. I know you got the new.
Well, Nearfelder, who you mentioned, that's a collective band that we formed. Came out of a trio record that I did with Jeff Coffin and Vinny Colaiuta called Mondo Trio. Jeff and I became very close. We wanted to do another project. Amazing Steely Dan drummer Keith Carlock, Steely Dan, Wayne Krantz, obviously all that, Rudder, all these great bands. Had just moved to Nashville. We thought, let's do a record in Nashville with Keith. Nico Bolas flew out and engineered that record. He had worked at Blackbird a lot, so we did a Blackbird. I thought I was like, who would be great to play bass? I've been talking a lot to Will Lee. Letterman had just ended. Then I had been listening to a lot of Pat Martino. I thought Will Lee played on some 70s records with Pat Martino. I thought we need a Pat Martino character. I called my buddy Near. So we made a record. It was another one of just casting. Like, what a cool band this is that's never played together. Yeah. We made a record 4 or 5 years ago called City of Cranes. It's out on Ear Up Records. Great record. Near proposed almost exactly a year ago, hey, we can't see each other. Let's try making a record remotely. Can we do that? I started writing a bunch of songs. Jeff wrote songs. Will wrote a few beautiful songs. So we've got a new record. John Paterno mixed it. It's a really cool record, man. It's exciting. It sounds like, now we've played gigs. We've done a bunch of gigs together. So we are a band. We now know each other, how to write for each other, react to one another. Feels like a real band. It's really fun. We were just on a group Zoom call. It's a bunch of characters. Will's in the south of France living, the greatest life ever. And we get a kick out of one another. It's a really cool record. Everyone sounds great. Keith plays his butt off. Near plays, everyone sounds phenomenal. We got Stanley Clark as a guest on one of the songs.
Wow.
It's a really cool record. I'm really proud of it. And that should be coming out in the fall. It's called Look Up, Band of Other Brothers.
That's awesome. I look forward to that. And also, if you want to connect with Jeff, if you're looking to have him play on any of your tracks, or you are interested in having him produce your record, because he does a lot of that, you can reach out to him at jeffbabko.com. It's BABKO, and there's a contact tab there. Please make sure you include links with your music so he could, make a decision as to, hey, and why do you think, what are you looking for out of him? Why do you think it's a fit? And then he can make a decision, say, hey, yeah, I could see myself on this, or, maybe not, or whatever. And at least he can get back to you. So just send him
always just, hey, music is to be shared. So share away, man. It's always, we're lucky to get to do it. So please share your music. And if you want to tell me I suck too, that contact will still work. I don't care for you. Awesome. Let's talk about that.
Hey man, any final words? I really appreciate all your time and being so cool.
Final words. Thanks for having me, first of all. And again, I just hope somebody, these last forever. Let's hope these interviews and Vic and I were talking about it the other day, and we were talking about, because you just talked to Victor, and he's one of my dearest friends of all times, and he said, just think about it, man. Mike Botts was the drummer in Bread. He said, we're like the Mike Botts of now. Like people, how us idiots look at those interviews, like that's somebody else in 20 years. Now we're the idiots. I said, okay, so now we're the idiots is the moral of the story. And it's so cool to be one of the idiots. Really, it's like awesome to think somebody might watch and learn something from this sometime.
I think that's why we're here.
It's so cool to be able to provide that and hopefully have somebody get a kick, or one little nugget of inspiration or information is awesome. So thanks for providing the platform for it. Appreciate it, Craig.
Thanks for everything, Jeff. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Jeff has no pants on. I want to thank Jeff Babko very much for everything. Again, check out Ebunctions. This just in. It'll be coming out in the fall, in the fall. Check out. No, that's soon. That's coming out sooner, or is that in the fall?
Yeah, somewhere, maybe summer.
Summer. Okay. Look for the Ebunctions YouTube channel and everything else on social media. Band of Other Brothers. Look, what is it called? I'm sorry, I can't read my writing.
It's called Look Up.
Look Up. I always say that. Look up, man. Yeah, look up. That's where you want to be. And if you want to work with Jeff, go to Jeff Babko, BABKO.com, and talk to him about doing some tracks or production. Most important, especially nowadays, man, remember that happiness is a choice. So choose wisely. Be nice. Go play your guitar or your keyboards and have fun. Until next time, peace and love, everybody. I am out. Jeff, thank you for everything, brother.
Thanks, Greg.